48-year-old bank loan officer. Mary Lou Morris left her house on the morning of October 12, 2000. Her morning was going as per her routine and she said goodbye to her husband Jay and left for work. She would never be seen again. Mary never arrived at work that morning, which was completely out of character. She also did not answer any of her calls during the course of the day. At around the same time, a burned-out car was found only a few miles away from her home. In the car was a badly burned body. The victim was later identified as Mary Lou. Due to how badly the body had been burned, it was impossible to determine her cause of death. Mary had no enemies and it appeared that there was no real reason for her murder. Only 3 days later, the body of 39-year-old Mary McGinnis Morris was found in her car in almost exactly the same spot under almost exactly the same circumstances as Mary Lou. Police began to look into Mary McGinnis Morris's life to try and find a reason for her death. Mary McGinnis was a nurse practitioner in charge of multiple clinics for a major industrial corporation. Mary was afraid of one of the men she had worked with. Mary had told her husband Mike Morris that she was extremely afraid of the man and wanted a gun to protect herself after she found her office ransacked with picture frames turned over and a note on the man's desk with "Death to her" written on it. Mike decided that the gun was a good idea and after showing Mary how it worked, he placed the gun under the driver's side seat of her car. A few weeks later, Mary made an alarming phone call to one of her friends, Lori. Mary said that she had seen someone in the drugstore that gave her the creeps. Mary told Lori that she was going to return to work to sign off of her computer and then head home. A little more than 10 minutes later, Marie called 911. She was frantic and told the dispatch operator that she had been abducted and attacked by an unknown assailant. Mary's body was found shortly afterward. It was determined that she had been beaten and shot to death. Whoever killed her tried to stage her death as a suicide, but they failed. Investigators found blood on the passenger side door, which was still open. The car keys were also found outside the car. As always, one of the police's first suspects was Mary's husband Mike. Mike had an alibi in the fact that he was at the movies with his daughter at the time of Mary's death. He did, however, refuse to take a polygraph test. Police also asked if they could interview his daughter, but Mike declined. Mike then hired an attorney. As the police continued to investigate the murder, they learned that Mike and Mary were having problems in their marriage. Mike had also confronted Mary about an alleged affair shortly before her death. Mary also had a $700,000 life insurance policy. The police also discovered that Mike had called Mary's cell phone around the time of her death. Mike said that he had tried to call her but she did not answer. The call, however, lasted for 4 minutes. Mike maintained that this must be a mistake on the phone company's side. Due to the similarities in the death of the two Marys, it is believed that a hit was put on Mary McGinnis Morris's life, but that the hitman killed the wrong Mary by accident. This theory is supported by a call that a Houston newspaper received. The caller claimed that they had gotten the wrong Mary Morris the first time. Mary Lou was also missing her wedding ring. This is a general sign of a hit. The killer takes the ring back to prove that the target was dead. The two Marys also lived close to one another and they shared some similarities in their appearance. The police, however, say that there is no evidence that the two murders are linked and that it is just a coincidence. Mary McGinnis's co-worker is also a suspect. He had written the death threat and the two left on bad terms. He quit his job after he failed to discredit Mary. Police also claim that they might have evidence to link the co-worker to the murder. If the police are correct and the death of the two Marys are not connected, then there are no suspects in the death of Mary Lou. 6 months after her death, her husband Jay received a $2,000 bill for Mary's phone card. Detectives traced the card to a 16-year-old Galveston girl. The police questioned her and she said that she had found the card and other belongings about a month earlier in a purse that was sitting in a parking lot of a Galveston convenience store. Mary Lou's family did not recognize the purse. At this time, Jay also received 3 calls asking for Mary. The caller was not identified.